Recently, I purchased a game on Steam called The Isle. I'm a huge fan of survival games and dinosaurs, and the idea of being able to play one seemed pretty cool. While I was downloading, I did a quick scour of the net for anything I should probably know ahead of time. Good thing I did. Looks like the original version is abandoned, and there's a new version I need to switch to called Everma. But wait, what if I hadn't looked it up? Would I just be wandering in confusion through outdated and largely empty servers, completely abandoned by the development team? What happens when the average person ends up in this situation? This is one of many issues I came across during my time playing The Isle. For new players, there is a resounding echo chamber from the dwindling but ravenous fan base, as well as the devs themselves, to do their due diligence in reading everything on Discord, forums, watching YouTube videos. Basically, people are being told to research the game in order to even be able to play it properly. This is frankly ridiculous. When new players attempt to reach out to the community, they are often told to get good or just read the Discord. A Discord which is wholly aggressive to new players, and even the head developer himself tends to snap when the tiniest bit of feedback is given. Hardly a welcoming environment. When players show their frustrations or voice their lack of trust in the developers, and with good reason, we'll get to that soon enough, they are met with cruelty, condescending behavior, or just outright told to go play something else. And while I understand how frustrating it can be when players complain or voice frustrations, it's part of your responsibility as a game developer to humble yourself enough to listen. It's no secret that games in which the development team listen to and respect their player base tend to do much better than those who see them as little else but dollar signs. These behavioral issues from the developers are compounded further by the fact that they frequently leave players in the dark about issues, are dishonest about the causes of certain issues, promise certain content and update without ever actually delivering, and shirk their responsibilities for making the game safe for players on server admin. Official servers are absolutely notorious for being full of hackers, lag issues, rubber banding, broken areas in the maps, servers crashing, and more. The hacking issue is especially astounding when the type of hacking we're seeing is one that most even moderately professional multiplayer games avoid. And let's address that a little bit further. I've worked on my fair share of multiplayer games, and Unreal Engine is my bread and butter. One of the first things that you learn about as a young and aspiring dev looking to make a multiplayer game is how to prevent hacks. There are entire compendiums, tutorials, and in-depth breakdowns on how to build your game in such a way that you can prevent at least the most basic type of hacking, changing variables and character data in order to get an edge on others. This can be something like increasing your max HP, giving yourself faster speed, better damage, or toggling off cooldowns so you can spam them to death. And to clarify, this is not the same as aimbots or certain other types of speed hacks, nor is it the same as lag switching, which I can get to some other time. In a very basic nutshell, changing character data generally requires the hacker to trace where that data is being stored client-side, altering it, and then by some means having that altered data get pushed back to the server where it's applied to all the clients connected to the server. It does not matter how much you might change the data on your character if that information does not somehow get back to the server. Nowadays, it's pretty easy to avoid this issue, and most multiplayer games, at least the ones with dedicated servers like The Isle, don't tend to have it. But this is perhaps the most prevailing kind of cheating that goes on in this game, and it is absolutely bonkers. To take this back a bit, I decided to make this video because I had written a lengthy review about the game in the unofficial The Isle subreddit, which garnered a bit of attention. But this completely exploded all over the Discord for days on end, and with the devs and their most loyal following trashing everything they possibly could, and remarking that no, data is not being processed server-side. Or rather, some were saying it wasn't, while other people were claiming it was, but this was normal, and yeah, I don't know. It seems nobody really knows how the data is processed, and it gave me a bit of a headache trying to follow it all. Point being, there is absolutely no reason whatsoever that character data should ever be touched client-side, let alone having damage or what have you calculated client-side. The only thing the server ever needs is the client saying, hey, I pushed this button, and then the server checks what the client is playing, what all the data for that character is, determines if there's anything it could feasibly hit, like, if an enemy is within a hitbox range or whatever, and then it calculates all the damage by itself. The server keeps all this information server-side, and it only relays that information to the clients. You hit this thing, or you've been hit by this thing. Really, the only reason for a client to even know is so that the UI is updated accordingly. And the thing is, people screw up, especially indie devs who don't have a flock of developers used to working on AAA games with a ton of oversight and decades of experience. And while I would be willing to simply say, it's just a passion project that's been in development for a bit too long, like 10 years, and the devs are still just a bit rough around the edges, this is severely overshadowed by the fact that, yes, there is a ton of reason to not trust these developers. The amount of drama regarding just the head developer, Dondi, is staggering for such a small game. From, allegedly, supporting a known groomer to being, allegedly, questionable about his use and reporting of profits, to the, perhaps less allegedly, outright lies he's been caught in, it's no wonder people are nervous. And it is his responsibility to put in the work and rebuild the trust of the community. But from what I can see, he won't, and he hasn't. Instead, it feels like he's just abusing all the people who so badly want this community to thrive and for the game to be fun. And he only seems to surround himself with an echo chamber of apologists and yes men. And this isn't just the head dev either. I've personally witnessed at least 3 of the developers acting this way. Anytime anyone tries to offer suggestions or ideas to improve the game, they are frequently met with ridicule, outright ignored, or perhaps worse, told that it's planned. And let's address that last one specifically. A game should always be able to stand by itself. To circle back to what I said at the very beginning of this video, a player should never need to do more than purchase the game, download it, and start it up. To expect players to do research just to be able to learn, play, and understand a game is ridiculous in itself. And to further try and shut down genuinely deserved questions about why there is no gameplay loop, why half the game is just AFKing in a bush, why this and that are broken, should just shut those down with some nonsense like it's planned or it's coming, is asinine at best. It is a lazy, BS excuse for taking the money of people who are being sold a broken, hacker-filled game that honestly has so much promise. A game that really could be great if the people who made it were not acting like outright tyrants. I get that it's tiring to hear the same questions over and over, but that's the whole point of having moderators and community managers and admin and so on, to answer those questions. That's part of the job, and it comes with the money you're pocketing. If you just listened to your players, if you just showed you cared even the smallest bit about their frustrations, I never would have made this video. When I wrote my review, it was because I was perplexed by so many things, and when I thought to ask the community, all I saw was years, literally years, worth of people being confused, abused, and left in the dark. I had no ill intention toward this game or the developers. Even as I sat there in that review post I had made and actively defended the devs as perhaps just being worn out or whatever, you were in your Discord mocking me, misgendering me, outright fabricating and twisting my words, and acting like a herd of 13-year-old bullies circle jerking over your own toxicity. This is how you've turned your community against you. I had support for you, but like with so many others before me, you've ruined that. Anyway, these are my views. I can only speak from my personal experience as a game developer, myself, and as a fairly new player. Videos aren't really my thing, but I wanted to make this because I felt it was the best way of getting all this across. So thank you if you've made it this far.